Welcome to Monster Monday. It is body horror week over in Killer Flicks, so I decided to grab a Cronenberg film because he's the grand master of body horror flicks. And I originally wanted to do all five of these, before today. I mean, when I've been thinking about doing this film, I was like, well, I want to do the original three and then this one and its sequel. But I wanted to do this today, so I'm doing it. So we're going to talk about The Fly, not The Fly 2, because that movie depresses the shit out of me. That damn dog scene. You guys seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But that's not to say that this freaking one that I just watched isn't depressing as hell as well. But anyway, let's get into it. Now this stars Jeff Goldblum and Geena Davis. I was surprised rewatching this at how little cast is actually in this film. I mean, it's really just kind of a trio. It's a really intimate film of just basically Jeff Goldblum and Geena Davis. And then you got like the secondary character, which is her ex-boyfriend, the boss of her work. And almost everyone else in this movie is just kind of background noise. They're very quick. They're in and out. Like the only other person that even has a part really is the girl he picks up from the bar, but everyone else is just background. So it's centrifugally focused on these couple people. I just watching it was like, oh yeah, definitely. But I thought there was more to it, I suppose. It's been a while since I've seen it. And that's not a knock on the film. In fact, I think that adds to the believability and, the intimacy of their romance and making it feel a little bit more authentic so that we can kind of really feel for them once things start to go wrong. So Jeff Goldblum is like this eccentric dude, and he meets this girl at a party, and he talks her into coming back to his house. And this is a horror movie, so you're just like, she goes to his place, and it's out, in this like industrial area, and it's kind of shady, and she goes up there, and she's like, I don't know about this. And usually in horror movies, that's where things start to go wrong, but no, he's there to show her the telepods or the teleportation devices that he has created. And then he realizes that she's a journalist and that she wants to publish this, and he freaks out. How he doesn't know she is one, or that she was going to, even if maybe he did. He says, oh, you're a journalist, like you need to go. No, you shouldn't have been here. I shouldn't have shown this to you. But I really felt like he was I thought he knew that she was. That felt unclear to me, but he says it like he doesn't know, but I guess, so we'll have to take it how he says it. She goes and of course tries to tell her boss, because she's like, fuck that, this is the biggest story I've ever covered, like ever. This might be the biggest invention of all time, and it would be if it really existed. I couldn't help but notice the kind of parallels between this and Terminator. Although it's kind of the opposite, where he is having a problem sending anything with organic, body matter, skin, whatever, and he can send inanimate objects. But in Terminator, it's the exact opposite. They have to put skin over exoskeleton because they can't send something that isn't living through. And even his little like crouch stance that he has is a mirror image of Reese in the first Terminator and Arnold in the second one, or the T-800, as I should say, and the T-1000 as well. They kind of all come out with that stance, as Jeff Goldblum does. I mean, I think it's obvious that stance, that little crouched position, is just basically a way to show that they're naked without showing their dicks. But it still is, very known, like it's a very recognizable stance. But you're just watching this, I was having fun in my mind, kind of making those little connections, but also like playing this in my head like it's a precursor to the Terminator franchise. Like he built this machine and that's what ended up becoming that. But that, why would then it not work? I was just trying to connect them for fun in my head. But anyway, as I said, he doesn't want this story out, so he goes to her work, and she immediately goes and tells him, and he's like, look, why don't you come and document this? Why don't you follow me around in my place? And, you can write a book or you can write whatever you want. Let's do this right. Don't publish it until it's ready so that we can both benefit from this. Which makes sense, and I think she knows that, and she takes the risk and goes for it. And her boss is clearly still in love with her, and he is very aggressive about it, and jealous, and spiteful, and he's just pursuing her right and left. And oh man, there's so many sad ass scenes in this movie, but the first devastating one is that poor fucking baboon. Holy God, man. Puts it through. Like, you couldn't have started with like a cockroach or something. Fuck cockroaches. You're gonna put a baboon through? Like, why can't you see if a living creature, like a piece of shit cockroach, it's like the only form of life that I just can't stand. I actually killed one like 2 seconds before I started this review. You can see how much I give a shit. But yeah, but a baboon? Really, a fucking baboon? My God. And then it gets turned inside out and it puts its little paw up on the thing. And then he turns it and it's completely fucking inside out. Oh, gross, man. Oh, it's so sad. And it's still alive. Like, it turned inside out and it's still alive? That's just cruel. It's just sitting there whimpering in pain. That's fucked up. I would have walked out and been like, oh, hell no, man. I wouldn't have let him do it in the damn first place. So she's just as responsible for this shit as he is. What the hell do you get a baboon anyway? They sell those at the pet store there in that town? Anyway. I guess he's ordering parts from like different places, and they probably have some lab animals. Damn, lab animal. Ugh, sad. Anyways, let's move on. He owns 5 sets of the same clothes, which he says he gets from Einstein, which is supposed to be a true story. I had a science teacher in like 7th grade. Same thing. Wore the same exact outfit to work every single day. He had 7 of the same outfits, and he had them labeled Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and he would take them to the dry cleaners, like on Sunday or whatever. He would tell the story in the class. And it's just like, wow, that's convenient, boring as shit. But when you're a great mind and you don't have time, like, you don't want to be thinking about anything else because you have such a focus and you're such a brilliant person, that you don't have time for those kinds of things. That's why my shirt's always different, because I'm a moron. So she comes on to him in this movie. Gina Davis is somebody who she was pretty popular there for a minute. She did Beetlejuice, and she did this, and Long Kiss Goodnight and stuff like that. I think Cutthroat Island is kind of what sank her career. But she did have a really cool return with the Exorcist series. If you haven't seen the first season of that Exorcist show and you thought it was gonna be garbage, like, I mean, I try never to judge things until I see them. But I was pretty damn surprised by that first season of The Exorcist. I haven't watched the second season yet, so I can't really speak to that one. But there's some really cool twists and whatnot, especially with her character. So if you haven't checked that out for some reason, check it out. It's a cool show. Moving on. But yeah, the little scene where she comes on to him, I was like, damn, that's an aggressive woman. I like it. And I just really bought their connection in this. I really bought their love story. I thought it felt really genuine and sweet, and I cared for them as this went on, and I felt terrible for both of them. She should have been more upfront with him. I mean, that really is kind of what happens. I mean, we can't really blame her per se, but if she would have just told him what was up right then and there, like when that boss sends her the cover, like threatening that he's going to oust her boyfriend to the public, which he doesn't want to get recognition yet. She goes over there and he starts thinking she's cheating, so he hits the bottle, and it's established earlier in the film he's kind of a lightweight, like he doesn't drink. And so, yeah, he kind of has these delusions of grandeur where he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to go in. And he does, and obviously a fly gets in there, and that's leads to his demise. I mean, within a very short amount of time, he's dead. and another person is very, very injured, debilitated. And so, yeah, I mean, if she, that's why we just, that right there, that should be a message to everybody. Just be honest. Just be upfront with everyone, and they won't have genetic mutations. And yeah, just be honest, people. So I really like the line where she's talking to him, because it's like they're just about to, like, you know, make it official and be a couple, and I love the line where he's like, "Is this a romance? Is that what's happening here?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's a romance." And I don't know, there was something cute about that line. I really thought it was charming. And he's all like boyish and you know, giddy and butterflies in the stomach. He jumps up and he's like, "You like Chinese food?" And he's ordering this his favorite meal, and like, wants to share this with her, and then she gets that thing and she has to hide it from him. And that's, you know, was kind of the catalyst for what ends up being the end. So that's sad. It's really sad when you think back about it. And let's see here. So then he goes through and he's fucking, you know, just high strung, and he's eating all the sugar and he becomes irritable, and then he wakes up and he is a gymnast. He's going for the gold, and then he goes out and he becomes overly irritable, and he becomes overly aggressive, and you know, kind of extremely high strung. And he pushes her away, and he's like, "The fuck out of my life. If you're not in this fully, then I need someone who's going to be." And he goes off and he has this, you know, encounter at the bar where he's trying to get this girl, and these guys come in and interrupt him and, you know, try to strong arm him. So he strong arms them right the fuck back, like, for real. The arm wrestling scene has always stuck out in my mind as one of the most memorable scenes in horror that I saw as a child. Anytime I think about this movie, that's, for some reason, the first thing I think about is just him arm wrestling that guy and then just snapping, you know, right up here in his forearm, just that breaks his bone out. It's fantastic. And I love how the girl is actually, like, turned on by it. She's like, "You a bodybuilder?" Like, she doesn't give a shit about that dude or anything. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then they go back to his place and fuck. And then Gina Davis walks in on them and is pissed. And she leaves because he's like trying to pull her into the machine. And that's when we get the tagline from the movie: "Be afraid, be very afraid." And she runs off and is like, "Oh my God, you have a woman? I got to get out of here." Yeah, he, like we see earlier, he becomes a fucking stallion, man. He becomes a sex machine. She's like, "How can you keep going? Like, how do you have any more fluids left in your body?" I guess flies are fuck machines. I don't know. Like, he just has a lot of stamina all of a sudden. I didn't know flies were that. They didn't have such a great libido. So where are we? Yeah, he's like obsessed with sugar. And yeah, he turns the thing into a gene splicer, which I guess the government could use this technology. And I can't remember exactly what the second one's about, but I have no doubt that's probably where it's going. I remember that it's, you know, his son, like, and he's like 5 years old or something. He's like a full grown, you know, man. He's Eric Stoltz and whatever. And that dog scene, fuck that dog scene. But I'm curious, like, I'm looking forward to rewatching the sequel, because I'm guessing it's going to have something to do with the gene splicing. You just put, like, whatever you want. You could put an elephant and a pig and splice their DNA. Nobody? South Park, anybody? And oh man, just him falling apart. Oh, so sad. That's so sad. And then he, like, looks through his medicine cabinet, and I'm pretty sure one of those parts of his body is his dick. Like, a lot of them look like dicks, but like one of those dicks is a dick. He just, like, has a sorted collection of his body parts in a medicine cabinet. Could you imagine? like your ear falling off and your finger and your dick and all that, and just putting it in a medicine cabinet, and just kind of like memories of the past. Like, remember when this used to be attached to my body and I used it for pleasure, and now it's sitting next to my Vicodin? Like, yeah, not so awesome. And then she walks in, and he's stuck up on the wall, and he's walking around the walls, and he's doing it like it's no big deal. And she's just like, I can't take this. This is too much. And she wants to run out, but her love for him is strong. And then, yeah, she finds out she's pregnant with Eric Stoltz, and then she goes and she tries to have the abortion, and he's not having it. He flies over, he grabs her, and he pulls her back to his place, and the ex-douche boyfriend comes over to be the hero and ends up kind of being the hero, which is really bizarre. I mean, you don't see that very often. And he gets another fantastic scene. And this whole last, like, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, is just some fantastical practical effects work that does not get discussed anywhere near as enough, like with the Titans, like The Thing or An American Werewolf in London. I mean, this is up there, man. This is that good in the practicals at the end here. But when he vomits on his hand and his hand melts, and then he grabs his ankle and he vomits on his ankle, and then he's gonna go vomit on his face, she stops him, and he forces her because he wants Brundifly and her and the kid all infuse into one body. There'll be a full family in one human body. And he's hoping it will fix his condition, and that they'll all be together, and this is the only way that he can, be human again and keep his family all in one. If she wasn't having it, he could have just grabbed the dude with no arm and no foot and threw him in there and just see if it worked. But she does, and then the douchey guy comes and he shoots the connections, and the fly tries to break out, and as he comes out, the thing pushes him through, and he gets infused with the door and parts of the little telepod, and he comes out and he's just this freaking Frankenstein monster, just this, oh my god, this amalgamation of metal and fly and human. And then he grabs the freaking gun with his little pincher or whatever the hell, and puts it to his head, and she's just crying, no, no, no. It's so fucking sad when he takes that gun and puts it to his head. It's so goddamn sad, because even though you can't see Jeff Goldblum in there, like, he's in there because you've made such a connection between those two, that when it puts it to his head, and like, he wants it over, like he was fighting to stay alive, but in that moment, like, he was done, he was quitting. And it's just sad, and her's just screaming, and that whole, like, his transformation when his legs buckle out and the skin's falling off and his face breaks apart and his eyes fall away, and he got the big bug eyes, and his arms and the wings like pop out of his back. It's so fucking awesome. That shit is incredible right there. And then it just ends. Like, it just fucking ends, man, on such a downer note. Like, she blows his fucking head off. The whole thing explodes across the screen, and she just cries out in misery. Credits. Like, that's a fucking way to leave the audience, man. There ain't no, like, 6 months later and, like, a promise of a sequel, or, like, her in therapy, or her talking to her friends or whatever, and just kind of sitting around and being like, it's been hard, but I'll get over it. And that, credits. Misery. That's the fucking way to end the movie like this, man. Hats off to Cronenberg and the people involved for just going for that fucking gut punch at the end, and just letting the audience kind of sit there like, well, fuck, all right, whoo, and just get out of the theater. I can imagine. So yeah, I love endings like this. So anyway, guys. All right, so that was Monster Monday. I had a good time with it. I'll get to The Fly 2 eventually, and the Vincent Price one, and then the sequels, The Return, and The Curse, and all that stuff. So until then, I've already watched Seed of Chucky. I forgot my notes at work, so I have to drive out to work to get those notes. So that's why I haven't reviewed it yet. It's been at my job for 2 days now. I would have had the review out. I would have already had all the whole fucking series done by now. Stupid. Anyway, guys. All right, good night.